Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume Tom.
She literally went from my favorite Mouseketeer to the leader of the club, president of talent development at PCG Artist Development. Jennifer McGill, how are you today?
Hello, I'm awesome. It's so wonderful to be back on your show.
Listen, I love talking to you. You're always a big ball of energy. Like, even if you're having a bad day, you're still happy.
I'm energetically having a bad day. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. See your 90s con pillow in the background, so you're all over the place.
I'm waiting for them to come, like, take it back or something. I don't know. I'm you only need one intern to tell you you can take it, and you don't ask questions after that.
See, that's the fun part. You got a platinum record behind you. You got everything going on.
I know. So the Billboard, number 21 on the Billboard is from Why? Because it's Christmas compilation album, and that reached on the compilation charts. It reached 21, and I was super proud of that. I mean, many loved ones, of course, mostly Mouseketeers, were involved in making that project, and so that was a big labor of love, and I was just a small part of it, but it was very, very exciting to do. And now I do get to help other artists climb the charts and, find their ways, mostly through the independent artist development community. And I'm super grateful to talk about that today with you.
Well, I'm excited for it because you're helping them get better contracts than you did initially, because, not everybody had signed some good deals. I remember when Frankie Benali was alive, and he was the drummer for Quiet Riot. And he told me jazz musicians made fun of them when they signed their first record deal as a metal band. So I know you've had similar experiences. So first of all, take us through your quick experience. Well, not your quick experiences, but quickly take us through your experiences of having gone through that, going from the Mouseketeer to now literally the leader of the club. Sorry we had to do the pun, but you know how it goes. And
of course.
What PCG stands for.
Yes. So my first experience in a recording studio was just a little while before I joined the all new Mickey Mouse Club cast. But really, when I hit the ground running, was I got super spoiled at Disney's MGM Studios because they had a fully functioning Foley studio. They had the floors that opened up into panels of gravel or concrete, and you could make different noises just like you would trying to overdub from a movie or the small screen kind of stuff. And I remember that whenever we had tap routines, which offhand I know we did Fabulous Feet on the All New Mickey Mouse Club and Little Shop of Horrors, people like Che and Tiffany would go into the Foley studio and they'd use their tap shoes and they would record the taps ahead of time because we wouldn't have been able to mic the stage and do that live. So that was very cool to be in that studio under the eye of the backstage audience tour, as well, singing my face off, and all they can see is my faces, just they can't hear anything that I'm singing. So I was very accustomed to be in the recording studio and to be directed, because we had musical directors and engineers. It took a small village to run a recording session back in the day. And then over time, of course, that as well as everything else in the business sort of compressed. And so you really just need a little bit of computer equipment to produce a song. And it's up to every engineer, every producer to look into plugins to make their stuff sound the way they want versus having to rent a big studio. It's not necessary, but that stuff's still fun, but it's not necessary. And so when I got to college and I was about to graduate from NYU with a musical theater degree, I also was picked up by Capitol Records for a demo deal. And so then I got the next level of experience where you go in and you have a stranger, a producer who doesn't know and love you from the show, and they don't know what you're all about. And you're trying to come in and meeting of the minds as far as what is the direction, this is what the track is, what do you want to bring to it. And I saw myself at that point struggling with my own artist identity. I had been pleasing everyone else and taking direction for so long that it was interesting that I finally got my chance to be my own recording artist with Capitol, and I wasn't sure what to sound like. And even though we got 3 great tracks out of it, and I learned a lot with that process, I did not decide to take them up on their full record label contracts. And there's many reasons why, but stand that, you know, an unknown with a big recording contract, lots of times they don't really give you a lot of incentive, because in a way back in the day, you know, it was amazing to even be chosen to be in the eyes of Capitol Records. And so for me, it wasn't a deal that made a lot of sense long term, but I was really, really excited for the experience. And I really enjoyed my time there making the demo project and getting to know those at the top of the label at the time. And what's interesting is a lot of the higher ups changed out within that next year. And normally in the political climate of record labels, when your people who signed you leave, your project doesn't necessarily ever see the light of day. So it was probably the right move for me at the time. But I went on to do mostly a lot of live show through the rest of my career after I had finished college, and I toured a little, and it was a lot of live concert mentality. And then when I came into Nashville, which was crazily enough, like 14 years ago, I came to Nashville and everybody said, "Oh, are you going to be a country singer?" And I said, Nashville isn't just about country. I am there to explore what is available and what are the different groups of people and what's going on. And the first place I landed was in Christian music. It was that territory of doing vocal work and vocal direction and working with the different vocal groups on harmonies and how to set up a song and a lot of that really led me into one of my fellow worship singers worked for a company called PCG. And PCG stands for Premier Career Guidance. I'm like, Premier Artist Development. That's what we do, but it's Premier Career Guidance. And PCG was founded close to 14 years ago. It's interesting that I've been in town almost as the company's been put together, but Bernard Porter is the CEO and founder alongside his wife, Molly Porter. And they started the company all that time ago, ironically, because of artists like Britney Spears. And this is long before pretty much anything negative was being really fanning the flame of negativity. This was long before any of that kind of big negative news was hitting the Britney Spears camp. And she was just a young artist seeing a lot of success, but they thought about it and prayed about artists like her, and not knowing her story, they were curious if there were young artists who needed more education and young families with artists who needed more education and a better team to help them transition into their record deals, etc. And so that's why the company was born. And so when I was interviewed to come in as a coach for live show, I heard that story and I said, well, what's interesting is I worked with her. We were children together. And I really agree that having more support and more education and just encouragement, just having a team that you trust to not just be yes people, but to be educational and on your side and give you the hard truths and give you options and really help you not put the cart before the horse in many ways. That made a lot of sense to me. And I've always been very passionate about artist development. I just didn't know that I was going to be a great fit for an artist development company. And so long story short, with PCG, I got in at the ground level and I started teaching, but very quickly, Bernard wanted to put me in the office, and he's very good, organized, creative skills. I was very organized, but also very much in the pocket of the creativity needed to speak with these artists on that level and to get them to their next levels in a creative way as well as an organizational way. And so fast forward to last year, I was promoted in August to president of artist development. And so now I get to really look into the events that we put on and the day-to-day artist diagnostics and meetings that we have with our artists, the social media, everything that we put out and everything that we bring in, I get to put my hands on it and really think about how this can best impact our artists. And I can do research and bring in new providers, and which would be coaches. And I can delegate services for our artists and really help map out a strategy for them, not only in their foundational classes like vocals and live show and music production, and even I would say a little bit of social media posting. You know, I'm not the expert. I do a lot of it, but I'm not the expert in our company, but I definitely give them pointers in our meetings, and then moving them through their creational process, where that's video production, that's reels, and EPK, which stands for electronic press kit, bringing their performance reel together and putting all that together for them, finalizing their singles, and then moving them into distribution and promotion, which is getting the song and the video out there. And then we have a sister company called PCG Digital, which is where we bring all the offerings of services, from Facebook, Instagram campaigns to Spotify curation, where we pitch songs to independent Spotify playlists, and we put Google AdWords and campaigns behind YouTube videos. We can build Instagram with, and it's all authentic. I don't know if everybody knows this, but when you get those umpteen direct messages on Instagram, etc., and it's saying, hey, for $50, we can get you 50,000 likes and shares and comments, you know, in 3 minutes. All of that is robotic. And for your normal viewer, we're not going to know the difference. But in an artist's life specifically, what's so important about staying authentic from your vocal technique and all of that through your creative process, and then in the distribution and promotion, is that there are companies like booking agents and record labels that also have similar software to PCG Digital, where they can look in on the back end of people's accounts. And if you have 30K followers, but 2 likes on your posts, they can go back in and see what's happening. And they think, well, if they're lying about their followers, what else are they lying about? And it really is a red flag to those companies that most artists are trying to get with. Record labels, managers, booking agents. They're trying to get there. So PCG artist development is not just a fast trajectory to get you to fame. If you're trying to get into this business for fame, you need to get out of the business, because that's a great motivation for a spell, but that cannot be the long haul for you, because even our most famous artists, they go through lulls. They go through, well, what am I going to do now? There's always that pressure to top yourself. It's never over. And so doing it for the fame, we like to have therapy and have counseling for our artists to talk about the why and the motivation behind that. So we are a one-stop shop, 360-degree approach, fully authentic to any young, middle, older artist, band, anybody who's interested in getting or in learning with their family, or getting out on their own as an independent artist right out of college in that age, or even just a refresher course for those who have most of their components down, but just there's a few things that they don't know how to approach it and how to tackle that on their own. Every one of our programs are tailored specifically for the artist. There's not 2 people in the same exact program curriculum. So you can see how I'm speaking about it. I'm very passionate about what we do, and I really believe in the supportive process that we provide. It can be very complicated, but the bottom line is very simple. We bring logic to an illogical business, and that is the business of show. And you can't get around that it's a business of show. And that's what we help you recognize, and then bring peace to that. And how can we play this game?
And to ease everybody else's nerves when it comes to that lull, don't forget, Elvis took that dip for a while until that 68 special.
Everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through it. And it's hard to reinvent yourself every few years. And I think a lot of young artists, they do have the stars in their eyes. And I appreciate that, because I did too. I wanted to be Whitney Houston. I wanted to go out and sing all the ballads and have everybody go, oh my gosh, this is my favorite like I wanted to be recognized on every street corner and have a Grammy. And I actually wanted all of the awards. I wanted the whole trifecta, or I guess the quadfecta. That's not a real word, but I wanted all the awards. I really wanted to tackle the world. And when I made that decision not to accept the record label's offer at that time, that's really the only avenue that most people could take, especially if you were more of a pop artist like I wanted to be. But now, as we all know, internet and visibility is as strong as we can make it. And people can post all the time. People can make their own videos and do their own songs if you know how to do it. You have the software and all of that. I think where we come in is trying to narrow down all of the possibilities and really streamline per the artist's goals and per their talents and per their long-term goals as well as their short-term. We try to make a plan with them. And we do that every day. We sit someone down and we say, okay, what are your thoughts? What are your dreams? What are your goals? And we look at what they really want to do with their life. We look at where they are, and then we build a ladder to get there. And this business, just like every other business, nothing is guaranteed. But the difficulty of this business is it's very hard to make money up front. And so you're investing, this would be just like going to college, but instead of going to college where they're going to teach you history of the music industry, you come to us and you invest in your education and you have real world experience with real world hit making, celebrity working with, that's not even a phrase, but providers who work with and have worked with celebrities. Like one of our providers she just achieved a #1 spot on the Christian booksellers list because she co-wrote a devotional with Loretta Lynn before her passing. And we have other songwriters and producers who are charting right now with their artists, the celebrities, right? But they still make time to work with our artists because we do kind of like a matchmaker type of assessment where we say, based on what your life is and your messaging and what you're interested in writing, we're going to songwriter. This is the right one for you to start with. And then once we get through that, we'll say, okay, how's it going? We have our monthly meetings. We make sure that everybody gets their feedback in. And then we say, well, then maybe it's time to go work with this producer because they can produce all 3 songs from the 3 different people that co-wrote with you. There are a lot of writers out there who've never co-written with anyone before. And, I said matchmaking earlier, it's co-writing, just like any kind of collaboration that's creative. Sometimes it feels a little like dating because you have to get to know one another. You have to see if there's a language there and, a vibe. And then you're really trusting someone with something that's in your heart, with an idea and a message from yourself, and you're trusting someone else to help you bring that into a beautiful art piece. And that doesn't always happen every time, but we want to make sure that environment is very safe and that it's an educational environment so that all of our artists feel supported and encouraged and they're educated with every single one of these sessions. You don't get that in artist development when it used to work with the record labels. And last but not least, and I promise I'm going to let you ask more questions, but back when I was with my record label deal in the 90s, they would have developed me as an artist. They would have put a lot of time and money into making me what I would have become under their label, even if it didn't actually ever get released. That's what they used to do. But I still would have been liable, and I would have had to pay them whatever they were trying to recoup from that album and all the time and money that they put into me. So what we offer independent business people, otherwise known as artists, independent artists, we offer them a way to invest in their own development and their own education. And every product that they release with us, we don't own anything that they do because they are the independent business person. And we train them to act and to treat themselves with that type of level of financial respect for their craft. It's very exciting, but it is a lot. It is a lot to be an independent artist these days and to get it done well, I should say.
And it's also very uncommon what you're doing, allowing them to own their intellectual property.
That's right. Because we are a tuition-based preparatory company. And even though we are not booking agents, when the time is right, we can connect them with those individuals. We connect people with PR. We connect them with publishing. You know, right now, and I know we're about to talk about it right now, one of our special guests at our PCG Summer BootCamp 2023 is going to be the head of Reservoir Publishing. And Greg Gallo, he doesn't show up for just anybody, but our CEO has been a powerful force in the music industry for as long as I've probably been working in the business. You know, as a baby, he's been in it, and he's managed Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, and he was one of the people instrumental in signing Jason Aldean to his first record deal. He's really seen a lot, and he has been an extremely important mentor in my life for the last 6 years that I've been in PCG. And we are very excited to have heavy hitters like Greg join us and really spread their wisdom to these ticket holders who are coming in for an intimate experience. And they'll be able to ask him questions, get right in front of him, shake his hand. That's the head of the top publishing company in America. And he will be with us at the boot camp. And that's just one of them.
That is absolutely incredible, especially with the summer boot camp coming on. But before we get to the boot camp, let's flip it on you, since you're the president of artist development. What would you have wanted to know as fresh-faced Jennifer McGill at 12 years old versus still relatively fresh-faced, but fresh out of college, so a little more grizzled and veteran 22-year-old Jennifer McGill getting that Columbia record deal? What those two aspects of your youth would you have liked to have known then that you do know now and help people with?
You know what's funny is the first thing I would tell myself is buy real estate. I just saw the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, and I did not know that he had started buying property before the Conan movie came out. And I think I probably saw him for the first time in the Conan movie, let's just say. And what stuck with me in that documentary at that moment was he said I didn't have to take roles that I didn't want to take because I had already established myself as a millionaire before I really entered into the movie business. I really took that to heart. And I think that a lot of our young artists today, as well as what I would have thought at 22, would say, I don't have the kind of money to do X, Y, and Z. Let's just make it a blanket statement. I don't have the kind of money to do X, Y, and Z. What I would have told myself back then for any of those moments in my life or another young artist's life is you have to invest in your career. And gone are the days where record labels are going to save you. That is the exception. That is not the rule. Because now record labels can't make as much money off of album sales. It is a streaming world and so many ways to pirate or experience music and videos without paying for it per se. So their method of money making has changed drastically, and they don't have the budget or are not willing to create as much of a budget for artist development anymore. So if I knew this kind of day was coming around the time that I opted out of Capitol Records, I would have wanted to try to start my own business, just learn about the business side. And what comes with that is specifically for artists, branding and artist identity, right? And there is importance in having a profile picture that is the same across all of your social media platforms, because a stranger doesn't know who you are. They can't recognize you from across the way. They're kind of squinting to see, is that also her? Is that her? Is that her? You know, they're trying to find everything. And so having a logo and having that profile picture that's very distinct and across all social media platforms, having something like a link tree where it's a pivot page or a splash page where everything, including your website, just everything's on there, and having the ability to have everything just one click away. You know, I would have worked on whatever that version would have been back in the 90s into the 2000s, which back then, honestly, I think I did have a website. out of college, I did put together a website, and that was about as good as you could get back then. But I didn't necessarily have, I mean, I know I didn't have a performance reel with all the shows that I did back in the day. I didn't have anybody creating content for that. You know, I didn't ask anybody for video reels. I didn't know how to edit videos. Our phones weren't capable of doing that. But so that's why I'm saying that it's the theme. It's the theme of invest in your business. If you need a website, you need to make some money, go get your job, whether it's at a restaurant or at an office or temping or babysitting or dog walking, make the money it is. And first step, make that money for that particular budget. And once the website's done, then you have the ability to make some more money for the next thing on your budget. And I think knowing the hierarchy and the prioritization of what you need to do in order to invest in your business takes away a lot of the overwhelming feelings of, I don't have money to do that. Right? So instead of buying 3 shirts and going to the movies, you need to pocket that money because you know there's this business decision that you're trying to get to, pulling that out and making that a reality. To me, it was all the business that I did not get trained in. You know, I could sell anything on stage. You know, I could work it out, and even if I fell flat on my face, I would get up and ta-da, and I could sell that. But what I didn't understand was how to make business and money and financial decisions work on my behalf to support an independent music career. Now, you look at someone like Mouseketeer Tony Luca, you know, he's had fantastic opportunities, but all through the big stuff that you see throughout his career timeline, he has had a Patreon account for, he might have said going on at least a decade. He just did a post about that a little while ago, just talking about, you know, how this has become such a huge part of his income and how his subscribers are, you know, part of the family. And there's so many tiers and so many ways that, you know, you can subscribe to the different offerings of Tony Luca. And he started that before it was really a thing. He started that at a time where it was probably breaking new ground. And now everyone's getting on the bandwagon of subscribership and looking at pieces of income like that. And when COVID happened, he was ready, something to work through already. And every artist has to find how to break ground on something that is playing the long game. And in my personal opinion, besides your classes, your voice and your choreography and songwriting and whatever all that is, before you think about, I need to make a single and a video, you need to find your investment strategy. You need to know financially what you're going to do. My personal experience from my 2017 album was, it was a very hard time of work. And we really poured a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the album Unbreakable. I was very involved in the creative process, from songwriting to vocal comping. And later on, I did all the lyric videos. You can find them on my YouTube page. And of course, you can find the album on all the streaming platforms. But it really took a lot out of me. And on the flip side, in all fairness, my executive producer was in a different way, but very similarly, as far as all of our heart was being poured into that project. She was pouring her version of her time and talents and etc. in supporting this album and making it happen. What neither of us were educated on was how to then promote it once it was out. And even though that album, I'm super proud of it, and I still love the messaging, and I think it's such an important album, especially for my life. I'm so grateful. You know, I will never find enough ways to retro thank Lifetime Impact Music for making that happen. You know, there's no way to really convey it successfully, in my opinion. However, why it didn't go further is partially due to knowing how to operate social media, deal with Spotify, or put ad spend behind a video. Like, we didn't know that stuff existed. We didn't know the companies to go to. We were completely ignorant in that part of it. And so artists in general, hear me now, pouring all of your everything, all of your expenses and all of your budget into the creation of your content, that is a mistake. We need, of course, to have authentic and wonderful content that is everything it needs to be, but your timeline may have to be stretched if you are not saving up for Spotify curation, Insta growth, YouTube optimization, ad spend on Google AdWords, as well as Facebook and Instagram AdWords campaigns. That stuff matters too. You know, SEO optimization. There's all these words that I know now that it's so easy for me now to say, oh yeah, we need this, 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 this. Here's the order. You know, I get it now. But we made a full-length deluxe album, which in and of itself is a huge triumph. And just a few people know about it, you know? And those few people are very blessed. And I am very blessed. And I'm so thankful that it's out there. I don't regret it at all. But what if? What if we could plan better? And so my trials and tribulations and what I've learned, I want to make sure that we can take, let's say, what would have been a 5 to 10 year learning curve, both time-wise and financial, for an artist or a family supporting their artist, and condense it into a year or two. And that's the value of PCG artist development. That's what people who are, you know, on the fringe, who are just even not understanding necessarily what artist development is, or they just want to go to booking tours. There's a lot on this level of making sure all your boxes before you go out on the road, or before you get into the studio, or before you release your content, make sure that you're ready to promote it and to back it up so that more people get to see it, right? You can either have a pie on the windowsill and the neighbors around you smell it, and those 5 people are like, this is an amazing pie. Or you can put it in Costco and have samples handed out to everybody coming through the hallways. And there are millions of people that can sample that pie and go, I'm thinking about buying this pie. That's the difference between making a great piece and then making the piece and promoting it correctly through digital media marketing and promotions. It's mind-blowing what's possible if you know. And the problem is, a lot of independent artists, they don't know. And a lot of record label artists, they're not in control necessarily of any of those items. So it's a different ball game if you're signed and if you're under that umbrella of a record label. It's a whole different process for you. But most of us out there are independent artists. And that's why we do what we do. And that's why I'm so proud to be president and to really be able to steer this. Because I am an artist, and I am for our artists, and I'm absolutely for our young artists and families of artists who maybe you're a lawyer and a doctor and you don't know what to do with your singing child, right? Come talk to me. I will help you out.
Yeah. One more thing I want to touch upon before we move on to the boot camp itself. Mental toughness. A lot of artists are very sensitive. Yeah. A lot of artists are also very introverted. And I remember in a previous conversation we had, I don't remember if it was on the record or off the record, but there were some pretty mean producers to you, you know, about your physical appearance. And, you know, they said that they didn't realize how pretty you were going to be once you blossomed. You know, how do you prepare a young artist for something like that and to get ready for a comment like that? Because I'm sure at 15, when they told you that in comparison to when you were 12, and they just thought you were like the little cute, goofy kid, that's a whole different world.
It's true. And you can't know what's going to come at you. No one has the same story, but there is a through line. There is a thread of familiarity throughout the artist world. And we have to remember that it's a business of show. And I think you have 2 categories of artists. You have the ones who are interested in learning the strategy and playing the game, because you cannot avoid the reality that you are selling yourself as a product. It's your image, it's your voice, it's your words, it's your movements, your musicianship, it's what you're saying that has nothing to do with music. It's the pictures of your cats and dogs that you put online. You're selling a full package of whatever your painting a picture of that is you, that you're presenting as artist branding and identity. There's no way to get around that. So you either want to learn how to play the game and strategize to have that thick skin and to take constructive criticism, etc., or you want to be against, let's say, the machine, and you want to do it differently, and you want to trailblaze, and you want to ignore parts of the accepted strategy. Now, of course, there are always exceptions, or that side of the type of artist who do get recognition. And we're glad when anybody get where they're going, right? Like, for instance, one of the first ones that comes to mind is Sia. You know, the way that she didn't want to be a visual representation of her art. She wanted that to be through other humans or just other visionary aspects. But that is not the norm. I wouldn't walk into a record label and say, yeah, I want to sing my face off. Literally, I don't want anyone to see who I am. You know, it just won't fly, you know? So this road is differently difficult. We also get certain artists on this side that want to go against the grain. They will reference certain bands and artists who represent themselves as grassroots, kind of coming up through the fans, did it all with blood, sweat, and tears, you know, really, really put in the work, which I'm sure they did. But we go into the back end of those references and we look at their accounts. They have put social media marketing and digital strategies into place to help boost what they're doing. And it's hard to teach or enlighten this group of going against the grain to do it any differently than what they just see as, if I don't get the fan, then I don't want the fan. They don't want the strategizing, right? So I can't speak for them because they're getting pushback on a lot of different fronts. You know what I mean? Because they really want to do it in a particular way, which I do respect. But I'm a fan of working smart, not hard. If I had to choose, I would rather work smart. And so this is a game. And I talked to, let's say, you know, and this is okay that it's on the record, but when I was 12, I had a producer come to me and say, telling you that you have to lose weight, but we don't want you to gain any more weight. And in theory, as I've said in previous interviews, the company, whether it's screen, like television production, movie production, or audio with recording, you know, record labels, etc., whatever, or musical theater, right? Broadway, etc., they're all casting. It's all casting. And they are asking for what they want. And your job is to provide them with what they want from you. And in this case, now that I'm an adult and I've processed a lot of the old feelings that I didn't understand back in the day, it felt very personal. And it's fair to say that it is personal because it's my personal body that they were speaking about. But I have to understand that they're paying me to represent a character. And it was just difficult because this particular character was me with my name and my personality. And so even though I took it very hard, in the long term, that is what we should expect. Not that it's fair, but we have to understand that businesses need to ask for what they want. And we're kind of blessed to be in a better space with all of that. There are a lot more diverse characters and a lot more people are allowed to be their true selves on the inside and out in our artistry, in our business of show. And I'm super excited for them for that. But at the time, we were only so far in diversity, and shapes were not necessarily part of diversity when casting was going on when I was in my tweens. So what I say to that little girl at 12 is that you take this as an opportunity to evaluate, okay, let's say I am and what they want. Number one, is it achievable, what they're asking for? And this goes for not just 12-year-olds, because no one at 12 should be asked to change their weight unless there's a health reason. unless you're looking at the business of show, right? Because our bodies are changing and we're growing up and there's a lot of variables, right? So it is almost an unrealistic ask, what was asked of me. However, using that as an example, I have to say that I have to take my logic to it. I have to bring logic to the illogical business. And I say, okay, is there something that I can change? Can I eat better? Can I move more? You know, how can I help this process? What can I do that's healthy? Not what pill can I take? What surgery can I do? Like, to me, that's not where I would want to go, especially with anyone that young. That is off the table, in my opinion. But it did put me on a certain path of health-mindedness. And even though I do not think I have really ever been what someone would consider fighting weight for the entertainment business, I certainly am super healthy now, you know, and I pay attention, and I've paid attention for a long time on how I move and what I eat. And really, for me, the goal for all these young people out here when they do first encounter things like that is to work your mind game, because they can ask anything of you and they can tell you. Can't control what they tell you. You can't control how a business says what they're going to say to you. You can't control what fans or trolls and everybody in between may say about you or to you, but you can control how you react, and you can control how you think. And what I was not equipped with back in the day was being how I think. And that was my biggest challenge, was pulling out the weeds that had been growing in my system, telling me that my value was mostly based in my looks instead of the other things that God has given me, like all my intellect. And I have a big vocabulary somehow, and you know, my creative eye and my passion for helping other people. Like, there's a lot of things that I have going for me that have nothing to do with what I look like. And that is what I would have wanted to know for myself and had a plan for when I was 12. When I look at the other thing that happened when I was around 21, 22, and I was starting to work with new people that didn't know or appreciate where I'd come from, they were very harsh when I was trying to then vocally present an artist identity. And I did cry in the studio. I felt stupid because they had assumed that I would know X, Y, and Z. And so I take that learning and I think about that as far as, you know, what we can present now to people, going into the studio for the first time. And sometimes now it's just in someone's basement or in their remade garage or like their extra bedroom. You know, you're going into someone's home in a different level, and maybe, you know, they're going to critique and they're going to, who knows? You cannot control how they're going to treat you, but you can control, especially at 18 through 22, etc. You can control whether or not you're going to stay. You can control the contract ahead of time. You can control when you pay this person. You know, there's a lot of things that you can feel out ahead of time and see if this is the right producer for you. And that's why we encourage talks ahead of time and creative brainstorming pre-production meetings before you walk into a place and you've put money down. You think, oh, this guy doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything about me. He's not supportive. You know, you have to understand how you react in a creative process. And even though, again, you cannot control what people say to you, you can control how you react. And I think that now in both of those situations, I could have really turned a negative into a positive, and I could have more quickly turned around my health for the long term. And when I was older, I could have more quickly been differently ready for that project. I could have walked in with a different set of decisions that I had made or musical choices had I known that I could. And I didn't have anyone to tell me that, because I had been told my whole life how to sing things. And this was the first time I was allowed to do what I wanted, and I didn't know what that was, and I wasn't prepared to ask myself those questions ahead of time.
See, that makes a lot of sense, and it's great that you're now there for these younger artists or artists in our age group that are able to ask these questions and not know how to react to it.
Right. And, on top of that, if it makes sense, we have vetted providers. We have vetted producers and songwriters, vocal coaches, live show, videographers, photographers, everyone who understands how we do what we do, and that we want to make sure everyone has a positive experience. And yes, feedback. And yes, let's get this better next time. But everybody's got to start somewhere. And it's best to do that in a safe environment. And on the average, you waste less money if you walk in educated and prepared, and the people are vetted, and you understand the full spectrum of the full project and the budget and the timeline. Everything goes more smoothly the first time around. And then as you pick up new moments of education and teaching opportunities, then when you do it all again the next time, you're even better prepared, and even more in a laser focused type of way what you're going for as the artist. And throughout the whole process, you have PCG as a sounding board and as a counselor to make sure that we are understanding what you're going for, and that we can support you in that, or say, maybe also look at this idea, right? Maybe that's not the way to go. Maybe it's this idea. And the last thing I'll say about playing the game, as far as this particular side of the artists who understand that it takes strategy, both in the creative and the business process of it, what I call the camera game. You have to play the camera game. Now, how many of us say, oh, this outfit looks fine, this is great, like, okay, all the things, but then we take a picture and we're with our friends and we're in this picture and we go, oh, that angle with my face, or like, you go to the DMV, and I always joke that I take my own great selfies, but I cannot get someone else to take a picture of me where it doesn't look like I've eaten a small child, just right here hanging out in my jaw, right? Like under my chin. And I don't understand it, right? Well, it's the camera game. The camera processes and shows a different version or dimension of how we're constructed. And sometimes people read better in person. Sometimes they read better on film, TV, or photos. But in this day and age, especially with all the technology, there's no reason why you can't show up great everywhere. But it's playing the camera game, especially when you're not in control of the lens. You have to know the angles of your face. You have to understand the direction that your photographer is going to give you. You can't wear your favorite outfit if the camera presents you in that outfit the way that you want to look as far as proportion. So sometimes you have to get away from patterns, or you have to belt something a little tighter, or you have to twist your body halfway around and then look back at this really strange, weird, neck out of whack, and look above the lens. There's all of these tricks that feel very foreign and alien in our body. But when you see the picture, you go, oh, okay, I get that. I see how that looks. I get that. And that's a process, right? Not everybody understands that that's a game. Lots of people, including myself, think, well, I just must look like that all the time. And it can really demote your opinion and your visual power that you want to present in your photos. It can make you feel bad. It's similar to when we're speaking, and then we hear our voices back recorded and we think, do I sound like that? There are ways to manipulate your voice. There are ways for vocal technique to bring forth, the best and the richest qualities in your voice. It's the same with the camera. It's all strategy. And I just like to boil it all down to, you don't have to accept the first offer. Renegotiate. You renegotiate the lens, you renegotiate those vocals, you renegotiate the video, you renegotiate your wardrobe, you renegotiate your contract, right? We don't have to accept the first offer of what these things give us. But when we let it shut us down, if we don't like that first shot or that first recording, that's where it gets us in trouble as sensitive artists. You have to be open to compromise. And I talk about song babies a lot, where we write a song by ourselves and we think it's the greatest thing ever. And sometimes it could be, of course. But when we get in with our artists, it's one of the first things with their previous catalog. And we talk about, do we need to archive this song? Does this still represent you? Is this at the level that when a newcomer starts looking at your music, is this going to represent you? If a label starts looking at your music, or a booking agent, is this song part of what you want to represent you in this way? And we ask it as a question because it's not PCG's choice. We're not going to make you do anything. We are here to counsel you and prescribe strategies and services and sessions based on what we think is best for that artist. But we're the doctors. We prescribe medicine and we tell you to exercise, but that doesn't mean you're going to do it. It doesn't mean you have to do that. But we know for the health of your business, we know how we know how to help you. We know what can be best for you. And all of that, to me, it's a compromise. I think that if you just say, I'm going to do it my way and I don't need any help, I kind of chuckle at that as far as, well, why are we on a call? Why are we in this program if you don't want to listen and trust the process and do that? Kind of like those artists who want to go against the grain and do it in a certain way. God bless everybody. I mean, do it the way you need to do it. But really what PCG is for the ones who don't want to waste time and money figuring it out on their own. And they want a team that supplements what a record label would do and possibly could be even greater of an experience than what certain record labels may be offering right now for artist development, as well as getting access to digital strategies and really being able to solve a lot of those mysteries in a safe and wise environment, right? But compromise is key. So for all those artists out there, try not to see your song babies as I can't change that now, and I can't change them. I'm not going to hurt their feelings or mine. If someone comes along and says, well, if you make this hook a little bit more catchy, we might have something here. No, this is the message, and this is exactly what I want to say. Okay. And go put out that message, more power to you. But that's what we're here for, to ask you things and to suggest things to you and to prescribe certain strategies that you might not have considered before. And the whole goal is that when you succeed, we succeed, not the other way around.
I dig it. And now coming up in a little over 30 days is the PCG Summer BootCamp. And yes. I know you have 4 offices, Nashville, New York, Austin, and LA. Will the boot camps be rotating cities in the future, or will they primarily be focused in Nashville, since that seems to be your home base?
That's a great question. So I have 2 parts of that. First off, PCG artist development, most of our staff is more towards Nashville as far as the day-to-day. And it's because we can get together and because we have so many opportunities for venues and studios here in Nashville that we'd rather bring our traveling artists to this hub because of certain opportunities. And because it just so happened that most of our staff is in this area that operate the day-to-day. And so it just happened that at some point back before my time with PCG, they started the boot camps in Nashville. And it's now become a tradition because a lot of what we love to do is bring everybody in for a 2-day workshop, and we present them with coaches, providers, heavy hitters in the business like Greg Gallo from Reservoir Publishing, iconic performers like Pam Tillis, who will be joining us on day 2, and everybody in between, so that they can speak their wisdom, kind of like a TED Talk. We have interviews and panels about songwriting and production and royalties and digital media and marketing strategies and entertainment law. We have Dennis Lord joining us, who I learned that he had written a hit for Travis Tritt in the beginning of his career. I didn't know that. And he's just,
Wait, did he write Wishing Well?
Huh?
Did he write Wishing Well?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have
Travis
to look
Tritt.
at.
I'm thinking of Travis Trent D'Arby. Sorry.
Okay.
Wrong Travis.
Yeah, but you can look it up. Dennis Lord. It'll say on his Wikipedia page, I think, what he's done. But we just sent out an email about that you can I can forward it to you if you want. But basically, the the boot camp started long before I came into the family of PCG. And before COVID, it used to be a bigger event because more people were just interested in travel, and that's just what they felt like doing. Now, what has changed is that I have decided this year to make it a more intimate experience, because I wanted each of our performers and their families and supporters to see the whites of everyone's eyes right there, right against the stage. So we are holding our 2-day summer boot camp this year at one of the hottest clubs in Nashville, the Electric Jane. And the Electric Jane is designed for performance, and they are a fully functioning restaurant, bar club that also has this incredible stage with lighting and this fantastic sound, because they built the place to have acts in there and to fill it up with performances every evening. And so we rented before they exploded. We just got in there ahead of time. So now it's not even the same scenario to try to get into that building with a private event. So we have a really exclusive experience for our ticket holders, because it is an intimate setting where it's cool seats and fun little tables, like a really great restaurant club. And it's got all this beautiful, and it's funny because I have similar curtains here, but it just has all these cool curtain walls and really awesome lighting. And it makes me feel like maybe Madonna bought the club. You know, it just feels really like 90s polished and elegant and cool. And I really enjoy the space. And to me, when I was planning the boot camp this year, my choice was the Electric Jane, because I enjoyed that you could put on your resume that you performed at one of the hottest clubs in Nashville. So even if you're 13 and you haven't released any music, you can come here and purchase a performer ticket. And there are very discounted companion tickets for your mom or dad, or your accompanist, like whoever needed to come in with you. And you can get on that stage and present a song. And that's all it takes to say that you have performed at the Electric Jane. And on top of that, even though it's super loose, you could say that you shared the stage with Pam Tillis, right? But that's how it starts. Everybody knows the trial of trying to put together your first resume and trying to get those first accolades, you know? Now I can say I've shared the stage with Celine Dion. Have I done a duet with her? No, but I was in a group number. And yeah, maybe it was at the inaugural special for the youth for when President Clinton was being inaugurated and Will Smith introduced us. Okay, it was a big event, but I was a small part of it, right? But I was on the same stage, and I was with Will Smith and Kenny Loggins and Boyz II Men and Celine Dion and Vanessa Williams, even though I haven't done a duet with any of them, right? So you have to start somewhere. And I wanted, just knowing what artists need in that capacity, I wanted to bring that usable space and that usable name to even our beginner artists who are coming to join us. So there's that. Summer boot camp as well. So the first half of each of our days is our TED Talks and our speeches and our interviews. So like I said, we do have media training, we have entertainment law, publishing, songwriting, production, and that's just on the first day. And then the second half of Monday, July 24th, is our live show panel. And that's where each of our performance tickets, they get to go up and present a 15 to 20 minute song experience where they present one song, whether it's a cover or an original is totally up to them, but it's really our first impression song of them. And when they present that song, our panel will give them constructive feedback. And I give a speech every time. And I say, look, we're all in here to learn. And it's important that you pay attention to everybody else's experience, because they're going to learn something that you probably need to learn too. You're going to learn on behalf of each other. And you're also here to support each other, as we are, right? So this is not American Idol where we tear anybody down in the first round. Like, that is not what this is about. This is a genuine care for your next step, you know? And so our panelists are Britton Cameron, who was really one of the first providers of PCG artist development. He's been with Bernard long before PCG was born. And he's had all of his incredible writing and hits up there. He's written for amazing acts, lots of bands, you know. And then Brian White is the panelist who will be on my left or right. One of my favorite things about him, it's really funny, really silly, is he was People Magazine's one of their 50 most beautiful people in the 90s. You know, he was voted that. And he was the guy who wrote From This Moment On for Shania Twain. And he was the male vocalist that you hear on that song. That album, I believe, is still the top selling female album of all time, if not the top country female album, top selling of all time, but it's up there, right? That's pretty darn good. And the fact that he is joining us to help feedback with these young artists, and I don't mean just the young ones, but I think of them as that beginner intermediate level. You know, that's really what the boot camp is for. If you're on the road touring, yeah, maybe there's other ways that PCG Artist Development and PCG Digital can help you, but we're looking for the ones that really don't know yet who they're going to be, and their family doesn't know how to help them. And everybody's there to sit and learn and listen and mingle and ask their questions, right? That's the beauty of it, is everybody who gets on our stage, it's a Q&A, right? They speak their piece, but then it's so intimate that we're able to open up to the audience about, do you have any questions for these people, right? And it's the same thing with live show. They present their song, and we give them feedback. And then 9 times out of 10, we have them do a little bit of the song again, if not the whole thing. And my favorite part is when we hear audiences go, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Oh, wow, yeah. And people start clapping, and then it makes the artist feel great because they're taking that next step. And it makes us feel great because we know what we're talking about, and they're listening and they're trusting the process. It is such a beautiful moment. And honestly, I live for that moment. That's the moment. I love singing big notes, but that's sometimes just for me. This is for the artist. This is for someone else who really needs some good teamwork. They need somebody to come in and help them get to that next level. And so both of our days end with our live show panels, okay? Now, our second day, we talk about royalties and digital media and marketing promotions. We talk about content creation.
You real quick before you get to
that.
All right.
Sure.
For the people listening, do not be afraid to ask questions at these events, because if you talk to Jen off the record and some of the stuff that I've said, she tolerates my nonsense. So they're going to tolerate a lot of questions. There's no stupid questions. You know, just be willing to ask a question, because somebody else is probably thinking the same thing and is too scared to ask it.
That's right. It is such a supportive environment, which is why I am kind of doing a call to action right now. If you're listening and you know a young artist, or if you know a family who has a kid who's interested in music and they're just not sure, you know, you don't have to know, you don't have to be finished. This is very much like church. You don't have to show up perfect. We just want you to show up so we can help you get to your next step. And so it is very much like that for the boot camp. It really is about taking you where you are, meeting you where you are, and answering your questions, which you're right, there are no stupid questions. We answer the same questions day in and day out, and it's not stupid, it's needed. We need to be here to answer these questions and to give you options and new visions or new goals so that you can really fine tune where you need to go in your next steps. And it's all about the next step. You don't have to make it about everything right away. But what we do is we provide a full 360 offering of information for every part of the business, so that even if you're not ready for an entertainment lawyer, you can take notes. And in 2 years, when you need one, you're going to know a lot that you're not going to have to pay for separately to get this, right? You're going to really walk into your entertainment lawyer meeting with a basis of information that you can bring into that and see if there's any updates in law at that point, right? There's always changes and addendums, who knows? And so you do need those professionals in your corner, because you're not going to be able to do everything yourself. You know, I see plenty of moms that get online and they just run themselves ragged trying to do social media for their kids' accounts. That's a great start. It's a lot of work. And they come to me and they say, this is a lot of work. And I say, yeah. And what are you achieving? They're achieving wonderful first steps, but you are eventually, just like the record labels and everybody in between who aren't going viral. Okay, there is that. Everybody is going to need a social media, digital marketing, promotional strategy. And it's going to go beyond what you can accomplish in 2 hours. when it's 10 o'clock at night and this is the moment that you have when the house is quiet to do some socials for your kid. You know, it's going to take more than that. And so on day 2, we map that out for you. And we have our president of PCG Digital. We have our head of content creation. So Will Muse is president, and then Morgan Porter, she is our content creation specialist. She's VP of sales. She knows the business, and she's really passionate about trending sounds and when to post. And she gets on calls with our clients and she maps out the timeline and she talks about what makes sense for how they post and when, and gives them homework and writes down some notes with them. It's really, we really care about providing you with the tools and the timelines and the strategies to get you going. And all of these people, though, which you'll get to sit down with, you're going to get to sit down with Morgan. We're going to take some pictures. You know, there's a lot of branding and marketing that we can discuss with her, but every single one of these people, we care very much about what we talk about. And again, we are successful when you're successful. Now, case in point, 2 very opposite clients here. Number 1, and we don't talk about this a lot, but I don't know, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it in a way, and you can infer what you want. I used to know a young lady who attended our boot camp, who used to be a previous client. Her name is Taylor Gale. She is a lovely young girl, fantastic voice, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I believe she was with PCG before my time, so I can't really relay much memories because I did just meet her at the boot camp that one year. But she was with PCG for 3 or 4 years. She was very, very young, maybe 12 or 13 when she started. Now, a lot of our digital media and marketing strategies were not born back in the day when she was in PCG. But since then, she got on TikTok, she went viral, she got signed to a major record label, and she had, I believe in 2021, I could be wrong, could be 2022, but let's just say 2021, she had the top song in the world. So you can put your context clues together and maybe have a guess. We don't promote that because we are confident in how we built her up in her career and got her to the point that when she was signed by a label, she had a lot of foundational understanding of how to navigate that process. What we didn't do for her is put her on TikTok because we weren't training people on TikTok at that time. So what I'm saying is we're not going to take credit for something that we didn't do. What we did do was when the opportunity presented itself, she was ready to sign and to become a star. She's just toured with Taylor Swift on her some of her summer tour dates, and we're really, really proud of her. On the flip side, we have a client who also was before my time, and she was also super young. She's now going to college. And she was very nervous about going to her audition. And she got accepted into Berklee School of Music. And at her audition, she did her process and she went through that process. And what her father shared with us later was that she said to him, I really believe that I got myself together and was able to survive and thrive in this audition because of what I learned with PCG. I'm so glad I did that before I got to college. Now, that's not someone who right now is trying to go get a record deal or go be famous. But what we helped her do is get to her next level. And she really wanted to be educated in the School of Music. And I mean, look, I get it. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to learn my craft in a different way. NYU made a lot of sense for me at that time, you know? And so what we do is not even as specific as, oh, you're going to end up some famous record label star. What we do is prepare you inside and out for anything you're about to tackle. We have doctors that graduated from our program. We have scientists who graduated from our program. We have real estate agents. And all of them look back and say, wow, you really prepared me for all walks of business. You really got me to a place where I understood being an independent business person and my value and my strengths and my challenges. and you got me to my next level, which turned out to be this whole other, but thank you for that, you know? And that's what it's all about, because we can't just, it would be a disservice to our artists if we trained them to go be just famous. What does that even mean? How do you even train for that? We need to train you for the opportunities. We need to train you for endurance and work ethic and creative flexibility and strategizing. That way, whatever happens, you're ready. You know, you could go be a television star. I mean, we have artists who've done magazines and who are models and now fashion artists, actually. There's designers out there. It's incredible, all the different types of clients that we have. And then if you look on our social media, you're also going to see the ones selling out arenas, and you're going to see the ones who are on America's Got Talent and have now umpteen followers because, you know, for instance, one of our younger girls who I really poured a lot of specific heart into her foundational classes. I was working with her on voice and live show, and I prepped her for her America's Got Talent audition. Her name is Ashley Marina, and she is a thriving young artist. She co-wrote the song that she sang that made it on the show, that became famous from the show, with one of our providers, Britton Cameron. And the song is called You'll Always Be My Hero, and it's dedicated to her father. And that episode aired right around Father's Day. And her social media has never looked the same since. Now, had she gone on with either a cover song or maybe like writing something all on her own without a track prepared or whatever that would have looked like, maybe that opportunity would not have gone the way that it did. But because she was prepared for that opportunity, her visibility expanded to a degree that she's now growing up in front of everyone and just absolutely a fantastic talent. We don't going to play out, but everyone who graduates from our program is way better educated and ready for the real world of the business of show and any other business for that matter, more than when they came in. And that is what we can guarantee.
Right. Now, let me ask this from a perspective, since it's other aspects of business and show business, or as you like to call it, a business of show. And this will probably be the last thing before we plug everything else, because I know how busy you are. And like I said, you tolerate my nonsense, so I appreciate that. My singing voice is shot. I've broken my nose twice. I had to have my tonsils removed, so I don't sound the same that I used to. But I still do voice acting. I still do, educational reads and e-learning and ring announcing and sports announcing and all those other things. How would someone like myself, who can no longer sing, but still can use their voice in a different format, whether it's audiobooks or whatever else, still benefit from coming to this event, even if we're not going to take the stage as a performer? Can we still attend in a lesser capacity for the courses?
You can absolutely attend. We have a discovery ticket specifically for people like you who are really intrigued by what will be presented. They're interested in aspects of what we're going to talk about. They want to ask their questions, or they're asking for a friend, whatever that may be. We do have a discovery ticket where you come in, and it's not at all the same pricing as the performer ticket. It's right there in the middle. It is absolutely affordable. And you come in and you mix and mingle, and you're there learning all the same things, but there's just no pressure to perform. And I really think with people who are in different parts of the business of show, including producers, budding songwriters and producers, there is now an element of self-promotion across the board. So what you need to learn about is, what are the legalities? Do you need any kind of a contractual something that you need to have ready for your particular gigs? Do you have a SoundCloud or a performance reel, and where do you post that? And do you put activity behind it? I was about to say ad spend, but right, it just depends on the goals, right? Ad spend only makes sense if it's compelling content, right? But having a splash page or a pivot page or your link tree that's updated in all of your socials, so that we know that you not only do this kind of voice work, but you have Fanboy Nation, or you have X, Y, and Z, and you also bake cakes. And here are all my links to all the different things that I can do in my link tree, right? And it's about self-promotion. As an independent business person, all of these aspects of what we talk about for artists absolutely apply to producers and voice artists as well, songwriters, because to me, especially for our producers and songwriters, it's important to know what an artist goes through all the way down to the finances. Because I see certain producers, and I'm not talking about the ones who have kind of made it to the top and they can charge anything they want, of course. But there are a lot of producers who do charge a lot of money for tracks. And for an artist who doesn't understand the full capacity of their financial budget, that producer may be taking too much money out of the artist's, let's say, digital media and marketing budget. So that song, though they get paid, is kind of dead in the water once it gets released. And does that truly benefit everybody? So I'm not here to tell anybody what they're supposed to charge for anything, but I am here to say, I believe in open-mindedness. I believe in learning more about the people you're serving. And so I think songwriters and producers absolutely have a lot that they can learn coming in and learning not only for their own self-promotion and building of their business, but also understanding a little bit more empathetically, maybe what an artist does go through, so that they can be more of a partnership in all of that. And for voice actors, it's a very similar thing. You know, yeah, maybe you're not up there moving and grooving on stage, but your voice is your product, and learning how to create products. You know, I've trained voice actors before and voiceover specialists before, and I talk about how you need to get onto certain platforms where you subscribe, and it's the top legitimate platforms where your voice can be heard. It circumvents auditions. You can have your performance reel up there, you know, all the ways that you can make your vocal demos available. It's very similar to when artists release singles. The only difference for a voiceover artist is that they're paid for the gig, not for the art after, unless, and that's a question for an entertainment lawyer, are there royalties? Is there anything that I can do to monetize further my job? Are there different versions of vocal demo artistry or character art, right? Learning the different ways that you can make money. Learning if you're on a cartoon, are there royalties for that? Or do I just get paid for the gig? If it's a show, if it's a sitcom, usually corporate events pay more than I'm trying to get off the ground with my project and it's a great student film, but I need your help. Can you do it for $50 types of gigs? And then there are things in between that. So to learn the different facets of that, and then to know how to market yourself accordingly, you can find that there could be many tiers in that kind of a business for yourself with monetization. And those are the things that if you bring those questions into the room, they're gonna get talked about. And it may be something where someone says, lunch, and then you guys go have a different kind of conversation. And now all of a sudden you have the number of the top entertainment lawyer or the top so-and-so, or you know how to get access to digital strategies now to promote yourself further when you're ready to release a performance reel, right? Or even with our content creation specialist, maybe she's going to say, you know what, to promote your vocals, maybe you need to do a series of funny videos, etc. That is what happens when you take a chance and really put yourself into a company's eyesight and earshot, where we can really pour into what you're doing and give you some stuff that maybe you just haven't thought of before, and make it very specific for your needs as a business person. So yes, I believe it's applicable. And that discovery ticket is the way to go if you are not interested in performing. Now, we only have like 8 left of our performance ticket. And that is because we needed to allot that amount of time for each of those artists. So though I wish we could go on and on and on and on, we only have a certain amount of time in that venue each day. And I was not going to keep away from our ticket holders all of the wealth of knowledge that we could present with all of these wonderful people coming in to speak with you. So therefore, we have 18 slots, and we have, like I said, I think about 8 tickets left. And who knows when this airs, who knows if we have any left. So do not waste your time. Definitely contact me and I can tell you more about the boot camp if you wish.
Fantastic. And Jennifer, the people with the discovery tickets, can they attend the performance?
Yes, everything happens in the same room. So Monday, July 24th and Tuesday, July 25th, we are all at the boot camp workshop platform together at the Electric Jane, where the stage and the audience stay put.
Fantastic. Jennifer McGill, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. I could listen to you talk for hours on end, and I know how busy you are, and I think both of us can talk forever. So it's great how we keep connecting on stuff like this. Where can we find you and PCG on social media?
So my website is jennifermcgill.com, and that has all my socials, but my main social that I really enjoy hanging out on is Instagram, and that is the Jennifer McGill, and I've got a blue check. So it's really me. And you can follow PCG Artist Development at PCG Artist Development. And PCG Artist Development's website is our name. Our socials are our name. So it's pcgartistdevelopment.com or at PCG Artist Development. We're on Facebook, Instagram. You can find our YouTube page and enjoy some of our artists' videos. You can find me through my website on all the different social media platforms, including Spotify. And PCG also has a Spotify playlist where we showcase some of our artists. But if you really want to look at the life and the heart of PCG, go to our Instagram and scroll on our feed. You'll really see all of the amazing artists that have come through our program. And honestly, that's not everybody, but we absolutely follow and try to find all of our previous artists from before my time. And I make sure that we highlight and spotlight everybody that we can.
Well, on the bright side with all of this, you know, when you said your last album that came out in 2017, only a handful of people knew about it. Now you can get ready for the 10th anniversary and promote it the way you always wanted to.
Woo! I'm so excited. I can't wait. And one more thing to say, when you talked about all the different cities, the last thing I want to say about what PCG Artist Development is doing is we are putting together a tour called Nashville Roadshow. And the goal is to partner with music schools, mom and pop, grade school age, educational academies, music schools, extra schools, you know, whatever they're called. I mean, there's so many different names, but everyone out there who has those grade school students who are interested in all of this business of show, who are interested in what does it mean to songwrite? What does it mean to record? I'm working with my voice teacher, but I'm curious about what else I could be looking into and working on. And every school has one or two that they know they're probably going a little further, but they don't know what to do with those kids once they reach a certain age or age out of a program. PCG Artist Development is there to have a free event where we can educate and do the workshops similar to the boot camp where we work with every student on a live show experience. But if they're interested in speaking with us further about bringing those few kids to the next level, if it makes sense, we're there to talk about that as well after the event. And so any schools that want to reach out to me to talk about getting on our tour, we want to make sure we include everybody we can. And currently it's across America. We're looking at one place towards Calgary in Canada, but otherwise we're looking at no school is too small and no school is too big. It's just about finding the right fit and the right time and getting that conversation between me and the school. So definitely reach out to me if you're interested in PCG Artist Development coming to your town. I will be there on the whole tour. So if you're a fan, get a local school to come bring me in and I will help work with the kids. And then we can talk about further strategies if it makes sense to do so.
And now everyone knows what our next interview topic is going to be next time I talk to Jen.
I'm so excited for this tour. I can't wait to get started with it. And again, we're just in the very beginning stages of discovery. We just need to have all those conversations with the schools and see what the availability. So we're calling schools now. So if you know a school who it might make sense for me to come out and work with them and bring a few providers with me, I would love to have that conversation. So thanks so much for letting me talk about that.
No, fantastic, Jen. It's always fun talking to you.
Thank you.